Hey everyone, this is Brad from Workforce Gaming. We're going to do something a little different here. So, it's the middle of summer, not a whole lot of new games coming out. So, I've been going back and playing through a lot of my old games kind of that got pushed to a corner or sitting on the shelf for a long time. Just going back and playing a couple of those while we're waiting for some new stuff. I thought these aren't good things to necessarily sit down and do a full big old review for our normal 15-20 minute thing. So, I'm just going to do something kind of quick and talk about some of the games that I've been playing that don't necessarily warrant that full review. These are going to be a little bit older, just things that I've had sitting around that I never got to for whatever reason. So the first one I want to talk about is Resistance 3. I've had this game for a long time. I didn't get a PlayStation 3 until later in the console cycle. So I've played the first Resistance probably around 2010, 2011, right around the time this game came out. And I tend to be very much somebody who has to play games in order, so I never got to this one. I played the first Resistance and didn't particularly care for it. I think I played it too late, and that game didn't really hold up in my mind at the time. So I just didn't really have a desire to keep going through the series, and I bought them all at once way back then. So I tried 2 a couple years later and got a couple hours into it and just couldn't get into it. So found this on the shelf and figured, you know what, hey, why not give this one a try, see how it goes. This game is fantastic. I really, like I said, don't care for the first 2, but Resistance 3 is amazing. This game starts in a completely different spot than the other 2. It's kind of a little bit later than the other 2, and again, I couldn't even give you a good summary of the first 2 other than aliens invaded during World War II, and humanity's kind of in this big pile of crap and stuck underground and all this kind of stuff. The story is basically your little underground group of resistance fighters. They get found by the Chimera, which are the aliens, and in order to kind of finally put this whole thing to rest and shut this whole thing down, the main character in this game decides he's different than the other ones. He's different from Nathan Hale from the first 2. It's a new main character. He decides, I need to go to New York to blow up the big giant thing, and that's going to end this. The whole game, the story kind of plays out almost like a planes, trains, and automobiles thing, where it's like, okay, I'm going to get in the plane and I'm going to fly to New York. Oh, my plane gets shot down. Okay, I'm going to get on a train for a little bit. I'm going to get on a boat for a little bit. So it's kind of just your trip from, I believe it starts in St. Louis out to New York, and kind of these in-between battles that kind of take place and running into problems along the way. It's a very simple story, and again, I don't really have any background knowledge in Resistance, and it went really, really well. I really got into the story. It was really interesting just to see kind of some of his motivations dealing with family and those kind of things as the game progressed. The other great thing about this game that I thought was really cool, it's an Insomniac game who are known for kind of some weird weapons and different kind of stuff like that. The guns in this game are really cool, and that's kind of a staple of all the Resistance games, but one of the things that stands out in this game a lot is the game forces you to use all of your weapons. Now, what I mean by that is if you play another Insomniac game like, say, Ratchet and Clank, for the most part, you can kind of pick your 2 or 3 favorites, and you can get through the entire game just with those. This game, though, forces you, by the way the ammo is set up and things like that, to use every single gun. So you might be in an area, for example, you're in a human area, so you might only get more human weapon ammo at that time, so you're forced to kind of stick to those 3 or 4 weapons. You get to a spot where there's more aliens, you get to use those weapons more. So it very much forces you to try all the different guns, which is really cool because I think a lot of times when developers come up with these giant stacks of guns and you've got all these options, it's very, very easy, and I do it almost every time to find, your 3 guns. This is I'm running through, there's big enemies, this is my boss, gun. The way that this forces you to do that really feels different. It feels kind of fresh just because it's something you're not used to. You're not used to going, oh, I haven't had access to that gun for an hour because I'm just not in a place where that ammo would be, so I can't use that gun. So it doesn't do it in necessarily that survival horror Resident Evil type of way where you're going, oh crap, I just wish I could find some bullets. It's very much specific to where you are, and it works really, really well. But yeah, the game is incredibly short. It took me maybe 7 or 8 hours, and I got through the whole thing. I mean, at this point, you're probably just going for that. I think the multiplayer actually has been shut down at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't even bother looking, but it holds up really well. This is a game that came out in 2011, so it's about 6 years old. It still is a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It still looks fine, plays fine. There's nothing really that sticks out of going, oh my gosh, we've evolved so much further past this than what you get in a lot of games. So would highly recommend if you've got some time sitting around, it's maybe stuck on your shelf, maybe you just never got around to it in the PlayStation 3 era, checking out Resistance 3. So I think you can get it. I think I looked, it was about $5 or $6. You can find it pretty much anywhere you want to look. So highly recommend checking this game out. Very cool game that I just never got a chance to play back in the PlayStation 3 time. So it's been a quick one, but this is Workforce Gaming. You can find us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you may be listening to this to. And we'll see you later. Bye.